Hello everyone, welcome to Kishwa's Picks Week 9 edition. Hard to believe it's already been 9 weeks into the season. Quick recap of last week, the Jets won a game again. Now let's pump the brakes, Jets fans, because last week was an aberration. That team was down to Cleveland Browns, 27 at the half. Of course, it was a tale of two halves. They looked great in the second half, but you just can't deny the fact how bad that team looked and how unprepared they were in that first half. Let me now whine and bitch about it. They're gonna be okay rest of the way because the schedule allows them to be. But again, at 3-5, let's not pretend like we're going to the playoffs as of yet. Another tie last week, which actually messed me up, well, my picks up. I went 6-6-1, which is kind of odd. But what can you do? I guess off-season, Roger Goodell might want to revisit the tying rules. And with that being said, let's jump into Week 10 picks. And the first game is the Atlanta Falcons at Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Thursday Night Football. The Falcons are on a roll. That offense is, of course, #1 ranked in the league right now. Julio Jones had an off day last week. However, Matt Ryan continues to have a great season. The two running backs, Freeman and Coleman, is helping him out a lot. Mohamed Sanu has been a very good addition to that offense. Tampa Bay coming off a crushing overtime loss against an amazing performance by Derek Carr and the Raiders. They will be a little beat up, although they beat Falcons in Week 1. I think they will lose this one. Falcons will beat the Bucs. Moving on to Sunday's games. In the first game, we have a very good rivalry game, Pittsburgh Steelers and Baltimore Ravens. Now, if Big Ben is ready to play, we will have a completely different game. Baltimore having their bye week, I'm sure they're fully healthy now, not as beat up as they were when they faced the Jets. Flacco should be better. Terrell Suggs, I'm not sure if he will play. Steve Smith Sr. will be back for this game. So if Roethlisberger plays, I think the Pittsburgh will pull it out just because they're an explosive offense and a different team when he's on the field. But if it's not, if it's Landry Jones quarterbacking, I'm going to give it to Baltimore. So let's just go with Baltimore because we're not sure if Roethlisberger will play. Next game, we have the Dallas Cowboys, 6-1 at Cleveland Browns. Winless Browns, they might actually clinch the World Series tonight, so that's something to look forward to. That team is, they had Jets by the ropes in the first half, and then they just completely let go at the second half. I don't think they will beat the Cowboys. However, at 0-8, it's a dangerous animal. They have nothing to lose, and they will throw everything at the Cowboys. Cowboys are quietly took over the #1 seed in NFC if the playoffs were to start today. So they've been a good seed for a while, and I'm not sure if Tony Romo will get his job back or he might end up in New York Jets next year. Who knows? We don't know that. Dak Prescott, Ezekiel Elliott will continue to roll in Cleveland. Moving on to Jacksonville Jaguars at Kansas City Chiefs. I believe Nick Foles will be starting in place of Alex Smith. He's in the concussion protocol right now. The Jacksonville Jaguars at 2-5, they pretty much have nothing to play for. Gus Bradley will probably be let go at the end of the season. So much hype around them. It's just been a big letdown. Kansas City at Arrowhead, they're pretty much impossible to beat. And even with Nick Foles, I don't expect that offense to miss a beat because Alex Smith was just the game manager, and I'm sure Nick Foles can do the same. Moving on to New York Jets and Miami Dolphins rivalry game, AFC's battle will be a very good game. Although I don't think Jai will run 200 yards against the Jets just because we have the #1 rush defense. But I do expect Jarvis Landry to have a good game, simply because we're ranked 32nd in pass defense with Darrelle Revis, which, by the way, reports swirled around today that he might be cut this offseason. And I don't know what the Jets were thinking about trying to trade Sheldon today. This guy's one of our best players. You don't trade your best chips away. 2 in a row. They can't possibly make it 3 in a row. I don't think Miami's that good. They took advantage of Pittsburgh Steelers without Big Ben, and they just beat up on a depleted Buffalo team. And I don't think after the bye week they will continue their role. Jets will show up there. I believe Devin Smith might be active. I'm not sure yet. Seeing Giacomini back on the field last week was great. We needed that nasty lineman on the field. And with that being said, I'm going to pick the Jets to beat the Dolphins. Be a close game, but I think the Jets can edge it out. Moving on to Detroit at Minnesota. I can't believe the Vikings blew that game last night. Sam Bradford is getting hit way too many times, and I don't think how long his season will last if this continues. Detroit should have had the Texans. I actually picked them to win last week, but couldn't come through for me. Eric Ebron came back from injury. He had a decent game. Marvin Jones was pretty quiet, but I don't expect them to snap out against the Viking defense, who pretty much got embarrassed by Jay Cutler last night. So I expect them to get back on track and in the win column. Next game, we have Philadelphia Eagles at New York Giants. Carson Wentz played a pretty good game. I'm not sure about some of the coaching decisions that were made by Doug Peterson that week, Sunday night. Eagles could have easily squeaked that out, but for some odd reason, they didn't opt to kick the field goal earlier in the fourth quarter when Caleb Sturgis clearly made 255 yards that night. That could have been a difference maker, but Doug Peterson chose not to kick it, and hence why Eagles lost. They should be angry at that, and coming into New York Giants, they're coming off a bye week. The whole Josh Brown situation is behind them. I believe this team will have a very good second half to their season. Their offense should click, and I'm going to pick the Giants at home to beat the Eagles. Next game, we're moving on to 4 o'clock games. We have the Carolina Panthers at LA Rams. The Panthers finally snapped out of their losing streak last week. They looked all right. Their defense finally woke up and played with a chip on their shoulder. They've been embarrassed all season long, and they finally showed they're better than what their stats were all along. Cam Newton complained about officiating. Maybe he needs to stop running around the pocket so much and just take less hits like the great ones do. So Panthers should be able to continue their role. The Rams coming off a bye week. Case Keenum is a turnover machine. I am almost sure that Jared Goff might take over from him either second half of this game. If not, he will start next week against the Jets, because Case Keenum is not going to take this team anywhere, and I need to see what they have in the #1 overall pick. So Panthers over Rams. Moving on to Tennessee Titans at San Diego Chargers. The Titans are 4-4, which is quite a surprise. Mariota is looking good. DeMarco Murray is having a good season. Andre Johnson announced his retirement yesterday. It was time. He wasn't even getting on the field with that team. San Diego, another crushing loss against the Denver Broncos last week. But I do expect them to bounce back at home against lesser experienced Mariota and Tennessee. So let's go with San Diego. Moving on to New Orleans at San Francisco 49ers. Very good to see Saints beat the Seahawks at home last week. Drew Brees had a good game. Although Mark Ingram was non-existent, so they pretty much beat Legion of Doom through the air. And only Drew Brees and Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers type quarterbacks can do that. There's not many people who can embarrass that pass defense in Seattle. So going up in San Francisco, that team is coming off a bye. That team is headed for a 1-15 season. Chip Kelly planning to go back to college to coach after the season. There's no contest. New Orleans all over them. And then we have Indianapolis Colts at Green Bay Packers. The Packers had a great game last week, and unfortunately they lost at the end. Rodgers looked very good. They played a very quick offense. It was snap and go right away. It was good to see that. They need that. They need more of that this week against Colts. Andrew Luck, he will have Moncrief. Well, Moncrief came back last week, so they should be able to have another good game. It will be another shootout, but I expect Aaron Rodgers at home to pull it out. Sunday Night Football, the Denver Broncos at Oakland Raiders. It's so good to see the Raiders on a primetime matchup. They have been amazing this year. Derek Carr is the best young quarterback in the league right now. 500 passing yards last week. Unreal. And they had over 20 penalties that cost them 100-plus yards. This team is amazing. I can't believe they overcome each of their mess-ups throughout the game. Amari Cooper has been great. Michael Crabtree has been great. That defense can play better. They haven't yet. With Trevor Siemian come to town, they might be able to neutralize them. Denver defense will have a pretty long day. I expect Derek Carr to put up a good amount of points on them, even though it is the Denver defense and they're almost impossible to beat. But I expect Denver to have a bit of a letdown, and Raiders will win this game on prime time. And I think they can also win the AFC West this year, so looking good for them. Moving on to Monday Night Football, we have the Buffalo Bills at Seattle Seahawks. The line is Seahawks by 7. And it's going to be a no contest night before election. We'll probably most likely be watching CNN or any other news outlet that night as opposed to this game. This game is a no contest. Rex Ryan 4-2 looked great, but now he's about to be dropped to 4-5 and possibly done for the year. They just got Percy Harvin out of retirement today. Not going to help. Chicago, Cincinnati, New England, Arizona, Washington, and the Houston Texans are on bye this week. So only 13 games again. We should have another good week. As always, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think of these picks. And I will see you guys next week.